Welcome back to another exciting episode of Rambletech with myself, Brett, my co-host Lee,
Hey, everybody.
our regular special guest, Geoff,
Hello?
and we have returning from the deep space, Tuck Davion.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Tuck. How's it going?
Great.
Excellent. It's good to have you back on.
Thank you for having me. It's been a crazy season.
Has it?
For me, it has.
What's so crazy about it?
It was the season that was never supposed to happen.
But you said that about two.
No, the season 2 was the season of specials. Because every other episode was a special. And I was just like, what the hell was I on? Let's just say it like this. If certain people had their way, it would have never been a thing. And it wasn't even supposed to be a large loop the first time. It was just supposed to be to California and back, and that's it. And then it ended up being all of these different places that we went in that crazy loop. I think it was Portland, Sacramento, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Denison, then home. And it was just like that. And all of that just kind of came together like that. Like it wasn't something that I sat down and talked to this person and talked to that person and planned it all out. It was just dates just kept popping up, and I'm just like, well, fuck, I'll be out that way. Yeah, I guess so. Let's do it. And every other town, it was like that. So that's how those all got put into a row like that. And then as I figured, as I come back, I might as well stop here and I might as well stop there. And so that's why I call it that. Everything was never planned. It was never really supposed to be a thing like that. And, yeah, that's why I call it.
Yeah, you're all over the place and none of it really planned out. Just kind of organically had to happen.
And yes, and that the season 3 is technically the season that tried to kill me. That's the one, because I had those 2 near-death experiences. I don't know if you guys know that.
I remember hearing a little bit about it through your channel and your Facebook group, but I don't actually know what happened. What happened?
Well, the first time, I'm driving through Wyoming, right? We're just out of Cheyenne. And I'm talking about, like, it's whiteout blizzard, y'all. And there's nothing to do. Like, y'all know that. If I stop, the roads are just going to get worse, and then I'm going to be stuck. And God knows how long I'll be there then. So I got to keep going. And anyway, I'm driving as slow as I can. But in front of me, there are 2 cars. Okay. Behind me, there is a semi. Behind me and to my left, there is a truck, and he's pulling a trailer. Okay. So the guy in the truck decides he wants to drive up past everybody. Gets over, and his trailer, because it's, blizzard conditions, hits the car only just barely, but it's enough to make the car go wee, 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 like that. And the car in front of me went wee, like that. And I just drove straight through it. And I'm not like, a badass or nothing. I had 0 reaction time. It was there and then it wasn't. And I was like, did that just fucking happen? And Drake slept through the whole thing. My cameraman in the front seat had no idea what even happened. And I didn't even have enough time to be like, it was over that fast. And I think, well, okay, well, if the other car had gone this way or the other one had gone that way, I would have hit him. And then the semi behind me, and that would have been squish. It would have been the end of that story. So we got through that. And we went through the crazy sandstorm in fucking Idaho. We got through that. We got all the way down to Southern California. And I wanted to take Drake to see the Salton Sea. Now, I don't know if you all know what that is. Are we familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, I thought we were talking about Battletech. Now you're talking about travel, you asshole. Okay, so I took him there. I wanted to show it to him, right? But there were several places along the coast of it that I hadn't been yet, and I wanted to go. So I went there, and I saw this waste pool, man, and it just looked so good. Like, it was sexy. And I really wanted to go get some film of it, right? And now I know approaching waste pools isn't really the thing you're supposed to do, but something about it. It was like a deer in the headlights. And I tested the sand with some rocks, and the rocks didn't go under the sand. So I thought, okay, it's fine. I take 1, maybe 2 steps out onto this sand shelf, and the whole thing just goes and collapsed on me. I was waist deep in raw sewage like that. And I'm telling you, it was that fast. And I went to naturally push myself up off the shelf like that, and the shelf around my hands collapsed. So my hands all went into it all the way up to my elbows. Now, I don't know if you know about the sea, but everything around there is crusted in salt. And it's not the kind of salt you want on your steak. It's the kind of salt that will cut you to ribbons if you're pushing your arms through it, like I happened to have been at the time. So it, all the way up my arms, I'm like bleeding like a stuck pig. It's sewage. And I reach out to Drake, and that's when I see my arm. And I was just like, fuck. And Drake is a germaphobe. Bar none. All he did was grab my shirt. I said, Drake, this is a wrestling shirt. It will tear. And anyway, he was no help. And no offense, he couldn't have done really anything anyway, because if he'd come down any closer, the shelf would have collapsed on him. So I had to figure this out. And I'm kicking my legs in the sand, right? Like the whole time, because you don't want to sink. And my shoes have come off. They're gone. I finally get out of the muck, and I pulled myself out. And I was covered from, like I say, my waist all the way down to my socks in just straight up sewage. To take all my clothes off in the middle of the fucking desert. Okay? And all I had on was my fucking striped underwear and my t-shirt. And I put the clothes in a plastic bag as we're going to that gas station. I drove to the gas station. I walked in. I had nothing on but this. And I says to the girl, listen, girls, the Salton Sea just tried to fucking eat me. Can you please let me use your bathroom? We all had a good laugh. Believe me, that went on for a while. And then I got into the bathroom, no soap. To get in the fucking car, and we drive up the road to another gas station where there is soap. And there was Neosporin. And I'm just like, Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Predator, man. Just like, put it all over me, right? And we go to Dollar Tree and we get a pair of sweats. And Drake goes, I guess we're going home now. And I says, fuck that. We're going back to that motherfucker. And I am going to get the goddamn footage that I came for. I ain't nuh-uh. And we spent the entire day out there in my bare ass feet with a different pair of shoes after a while. And them fucking sweatpants and that shirt. And yeah, it tried. So yeah, the Salton Sea tried to kill me.
Oh, jeez, man.
Yeah, I even have a video. I have a video of the aftermath too. It's on. I can point you to it later.
Okay, for sure.
And you can see me just going like this with my arms. I'm the sea monster now. Like that's what I was saying.
That's a really brutal season.
Yeah, we made it.
We didn't come anywhere close to anything that bad.
We don't travel.
Yeah, we don't go anywhere.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You also probably don't risk your lives for needless video. See,
that's true.
So
although Steven did, because he used to come down from Edmonton in snowstorms.
Yeah.
Every 2 weeks.
He was a crazy player.
Yeah, that's crazy. Coming down every 2 weeks like that, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, and Highway 2 is one of the worst we get when the weather gets bad, when it's storming. So everything's all done though for this particular season, other than the final episode, which I had just rewatched today.
Well, we do have one more after that. I always do 8, and I have 7 is the main thing, and then I do something freaky for the encore, and I say okay. Because I modeled it after Stranger Things, which always used to have 8 episodes. So I was like, yep, 7, and then we come back for one more, and then we call it a season, and I move on to the next thing. So that's what I'm doing in May. Is we're going down to Los Angeles. I'm gonna go to Strategicon, the 3rd event, because I've only been at the first one and the last one. I've never gotten to be at the middle one yet. So I'm going to that finally. And I just got upgraded to like guest status, so I'm gonna be in like the program. And which is neat. And that is where we're shooting the encore, and that's going to be Raiders of the Lost Art, and it's Cranston Snored's Irregulars.
Sweet. You grab your build list from the MUL, or when you were doing the mech choices for this last game? How do you normally pick out your mechs? Sorry, I remember the game, and it was a really interesting match against the Wolves and the Jade Falcons, so I'm interested in how you found the mechs that you were using.
Well, when Rally wanted to do Ill Clan, I'll tell you now, I know next to nothing about that. I usually stop playing in about 30-85, and that's where I keep it. There and before. And everything else, if you enjoy it, great. Otherwise, I'm perfectly happy to play in this little sandbox here. So when Rally brought these things to me and she put them on the table in front of me, I was just like, I've heard some of these words. What is this jump 5 on an assault mech? Like, it had partial wing. I had to go look up what that did. Oh, jeez. So really, me picking the mechs there was me just going, well, here are some mechs that I do know. I do know how to use these. I just hope that I can use them as well against this new stuff as I could something from the same era. But if you're asking why I picked each specific one, the Dire Wolf A is always like my favorite. It's ridiculous. It's wonderful. You can't. It's the best when you're using it. It's just smooth as butter every time. And the Blood Asp, I'd never really gotten a chance to use it. And I was looking at it going, okay, well, here's what you've got. Who would I like to see fight that thing? One of these. Okay. Who would I like to see fight that thing? One of these. And it just ended up being all A configurations. And I just thought it was funny. So that's why I called it the A.
Nice. But yeah, it was interesting seeing how much the 2 skill levels of mech choices were. Like the Jade Falcons were good mechs. They were, like you said, upper tech, really high tech. But that kind of changes how you have to play the game. And then your Lance was really classic. Pulses and good pilots.
And there was a lot of stuff on that side that I wasn't familiar with, so I had to be like, And I was just like, look, I'll play as if it is just anything else. And we'll see how it goes. And with that lucky headshot on turn 4, that was just like, okay, now I might have a little bit of wiggle room here. Because I felt like I was under the gun for like a hot minute. I put the 2 gunner in that mongrel on purpose because I thought if anybody's going to fight that Hierofalcon, it's this guy. And if he's got long-range missiles, I'd like for him to be decent at shooting them from range before this thing gets up next to me and tears me open like a soup can. So that was part of my reasoning there, if that helps.
It sounded like the other player was a lot less experienced and just sort of was like, these will be fun if I can get there, and then never actually got there.
Rally hadn't played a lot of Classic so far as I understand it. I think she had played more Alpha Strike. So she was used to what certain machines were good at and how to work them in that particular system. And so coming over to Classic was kind of like somewhat of a challenge for her. But when I told her, this is what I do, and this is kind of what I would like to have happen, she didn't have an issue with it. She knew what she was doing. So it wasn't like I had to really like hold her hand or help her, you know?
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
She had at least enough experience to go through the game without me having to, you know, do stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I do math for people most times just because I'm really fast at it. But aside from that, yeah, she was experienced enough to, like I say, know what she was doing. But I think that the way the mechs work in Classic versus how they work in Alpha Strike is kind of a learning curve if you don't do it all the time.
Yeah, anything from 6.1 inches to 24 inches is medium range.
Yep.
In Alpha Strike, all you got to be like, okay, I'm more than 6. I'm less than 24. I'm in medium range. Whereas
Yes.
Classic, it's like, okay, so my SRMs are out of range unless I'm really close to you.
Sure.
I guess I have to get really close to you.
I've always just preferred Classic. I like Alpha Strike. If I'm gonna play like some big climactic battle, yeah, I want that system. But if I just want to play normal BattleTech, I feel like Classic is. I probably suffer for it too. I'm sure if I made Alpha Strike content, things would be considerably different. But I still just like Classic.
Faster, definitely. It'd be almost
Yes.
harder to get enough footage out of that.
Well, I did that for Big Iron 2, and I just recorded the entire thing, and from start to finish. And I just took shots as I was going, because I'm the one who filmed that one. And what ended up happening was, instead of me trying to narrate it, I just shut up. I didn't say anything. And I put blurbs on the screen of what was happening. So here's what so-and-so tactic is going to use. Here's how that affects the map. And here is what's happening here. But I never said anything. And when I do Big Iron Brawlers 3, which is the Black Watch, I'm doing the same thing. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to do it like that.
Well, at least you have a plan.
Yep. I have almost all of season 4 shot. I'm only missing 2 episodes that would be a traveling episode, and each of them are in a neighboring state, so day trip, and a Halloween episode here at the house. So season 4 is almost totally shot.
So you pretty much record everything and then you release it?
Oh yeah. If I had my druthers, and right now I get pretty close to that, I like to shoot about a year and a half out. So whatever like I say, Paws vs. Claws, I shot that in April of last year. So it took, like I say, about a year and change to come out. And I like to shoot things about that far in advance. So when I get all this footage and I get it back home, I go, okay, I've got 4 or 5 episodes here. I don't have to go anywhere first. I can just sit and work on these and plan out whatever else I need to fill in the gaps as I do that, and then just make shorter hops instead of these huge circles, and it's much cheaper.
Oh, and it's probably a lot easier too when it comes to editing and everything, so that you have lots of time to sit down and edit stuff. You're not in a rush to get things out, you know?
Yes, definitely. One of those, like the battle report episodes, they typically take me about 40 hours or thereabouts, about as long as you would work in a work shift in an average week to do. And it just, but I try to parse that out. So I go, okay, I'll work on a little bit of this now, and then I'll work on this other presentation in the middle. And when I get finished with that, I'll come back to another part of this huge thing. So that way I don't feel overwhelmed because I'm working on everything all at once. You know what I mean?
I don't, but Lee probably does.
Yep. Tuck, I know what you're talking about with the time frame. Like, I don't have anywhere near the amount of time you have. I have to just pull the assets out that I have pre-saved. I can't do the custom you do. Your work is way more finesse than ours. And I don't know how I'll ever catch up to you.
At time, that's it. I just stumble my way through things, and I call it, I Forrest Gumped my way through it, and I just picked it up as I went. Just time. That's all.
I have a way for you, Lee.
Okay.
What's that?
Don't attempt to put it all out the following week. Record and give yourself some time to do the podcast stuff.
Yeah, well, that absolutely works for things like Rambletech. We could totally do that, just not on Civil Discourse. Right? We couldn't do that where we pre-recorded on Civil Discourse far enough ahead because we don't have people want their stuff out every week. But yeah, we could start doing Rambletech ahead. We have a couple of times been 2 or 3 episodes ahead. Then we just decided not to record until we ran
or it gets pushed and then the content gets irrelevated by time.
Yeah, that was a mistake I made just recently.
I'll tell you, it's nice to have a backlog of stuff, and you're just like, oh, if I need to make something. Whoop.
Yeah, for sure. That would really help.
That is kind of our plan for off season most of the time. I like most seasons when we wrap up for our regular season, we go, okay, so during off season, we need to make a new how to play video, and we need to make a new video that is going through all of the maps that we have, or all of the new maps, or if any of the maps have changed. And then maybe we have another video that is X content. So we'll make those whenever we can, and then release those as we need to for filler when we're not doing our regular stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, if we could even have 2-3 weeks ahead, that would be great. Because 6-week or a 4-week time to do editing, I could do quite a bit more than I'm doing now.
Sure, and I'm glad that I have that time.
Yeah.
Because I've told people, like, if I went and got a normal job again, I would not have time to do this. It's this or it's that. And so far, I've been able to make this work for 3 years. So,
and I've noticed your quality keeps getting better. Like, it's not a real, like I said, not a real big surprise. Did that require a larger investment of money? Like, I've just recently was gifted a new microphone, which helps out a lot. Or is it more of a time commitment to improve that stuff?
I mean, I suppose to answer that in a detailed fashion, I'd have to know specifically what you were referring to. But when I started with a blue snowball mic that cost me $50 on eBay. The mic that I have right now is a Blue Yeti X, and I think I paid $250 for that new. I mean, I started doing BattleBound on my phone, and I didn't upgrade to a camera until 2021, I think. And that was a decent expenditure, but it's by and large the only real expensive thing I've ever bought for it. So you could make a show like that on just your phone. Your phone and maybe a cheap webcam, and you'd be good to go. But if you're talking about like special effects and stuff, that's time. Like, for example, if you watched that whole video, in By the Numbers, I had the miniatures on the screen, but I made them look like holograms.
Yep.
That's just time. That's just like, I have tools now today that I did not have when I shot that. So I was able to use those tools and do that now and create that effect. But a year ago, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So
that's actually really funny because when I was watching the video, I'm like, I'm going to have to ask him how he does that because I don't know how to do that yet.
Are you talking about the holograms and like when Bishop Steiner goes and he comes in as the hologram on the screen? I did it like a Star Wars kind of gimmick.
Yeah, I like that. It was really good. It came across really good that way. How did you get Tex and Bishop to come on?
I asked him, and we talked quasi-regularly. So I just said, I have this thing. George is involved. I'm going to get some other people in on it. I've got Sven from his lore channel. And he just said, send me the lines. And so I did. And it was very short. And he said, yeah, no problem. I'll get this back to you and blah, blah, blah. And he sent it back to me and I just cut it up. It was super easy. I think he did it all in one take.
Right on. That's handy.
And the bit about where I said the Banshee doesn't suck. And he said, I disagree. The I disagree part, I didn't write that. That was him. Everything else I wrote, but that part.
It was a really good intro. I enjoyed that. It really got me anticipating what was coming up.
Cool. I was doing it as a throwback / homage to the old Slim Shady public service announcements that used to come on the front of his CDs back in the early 2000s. It was a joke or a send up of that.
Gotcha.
And Sven killed that. He did so good. Like, he was worried that he had mispronounced things, and the first time I heard it, I was just like, oh no, that's great. And but it's so funny, he doesn't really know much about Ill Clan either. And so when I had told him about it, he was like, I'm not totally sure because I don't know much about it. And I says, look, you don't need to know about it. Because I know somebody who does. And they will tell me basically what I need to know, and then I will write a few paragraphs, ship it off to them, and they will vet that and say, yes, this is correct, or here's what you need to change. And so we did this a couple of times, came back with something that when I sent it to him, he said, yep, that's good, go ahead. And so I forwarded it on to Sven, and then he sent that back to me, and I was just like, oh, yeah. Everything just matched up. Like, I didn't do that organically. It just happened that way. Like, all the pictures come on the screen right at the time that I want them to, during the part of the music that I would like for them to, and I just did not do that on purpose. It just happened that way. And when I watched it for the first time, I was like, yeah.
That's something to be proud of. It was a good episode.
Thank you. I was hoping that I could at least do all of that stuff justice with the actual battle report. And I'll tell you this, I gotta say this, if my camera operator had been anybody else that day, other than who it was, I don't think it would have been as good. Ty rocked it, like, just totally killed that. And I kept looking at the footage and I would just be like, oh my god, that's beautiful, oh, that's so sexy, yeah, I'm gonna use that. And I had no complaints. And usually the people that do this for me are kind of like, they want to help, so I don't get mad at them, but they have a position kind of thrust on them, if you know what I mean, when I say, here's how the camera works. So with some people, I'll get footage that is either the bare minimum required, or it's not really what I need, but I can find a way to make it work. And I just deal with it because, like I say, I know they just want to be helpful. They're helping me, so, I mean, who beggars can't be choosers. But Ty, she was just filming all kinds of things that I wasn't even thinking about because I didn't have the wherewithal to think about it. I was playing. And I was able to just relax because I knew that Ty would do a good job. So I got to put them over.
Cool. Good. It's always good to have people who are passionate about helping.
They were in town to go see a concert from this band that they really like called Heart Attack Band. And they would shoot some pictures and all that stuff. They shoot in analog film, which I think is cool as hell. And I dropped them and I says, okay, I'll take you up there if you come run camera for me the next day. He's like, yeah, sure, that's fine. So I dropped them off and went and did my thing. We tried as best as we could to find a hotel, and that didn't work out. So we ended up getting an Airbnb, which was kind of a wild situation. And ended up getting the game done. The whole damn thing was an adventure. Sorry, I'm rambling. This is Rambletech.
Yeah, it happens. Like, especially when you got something passionate you want to talk about, right? Like, the stories come out of it, like your travel trip there, falling into the west sewage. Oh, that's just so gross.
Well, my shoes are forever a part of the California landscape now. My DNA is somewhere in there.
So since you already have season 4 recorded, what are your plans for this upcoming summer?
Okay, so like I said, I'm going to Strat. That's in May. I'm gonna probably hunker down for the summer. Fall comes around, I'm going east. We're doing Southern Assault 3. I'm hitting up people in Virginia, including Carrie Jo Patton of Myth Kitty Minis. Heyo. And I'm gonna see how many other southern states that I can get, because I'm doing a loop like this time. So I would be going through all the lower southern states, into Florida, up through South Carolina, into Virginia, down through like North Carolina where Southern Assault is. I think I might be able to get West Virginia too if I'm lucky, and I wanted to do something like Tennessee, Fayetteville. That's how I wanted to do it. There was something like 13 stops. It was crazy, because I'm crazy.
Well, that depends on how long you're taking, right? 13 stops in 13 days, that's crazy. 13
Yeah, that's
stops
insane.
in 13 weeks, less crazy.
It'll take me about 3 weeks to do.
Well, that's not too bad.
And that would be season 5 that I would be shooting. And in any of the little pit stops that I made in individual states, because I have a refrigerator magnet collection, and I just want to have one of all the 50 states. So I'm trying to knock those magnets off my collection by going, it doesn't count if I haven't filmed Battletech there. I have to, it can't be vlog footage, it can't be something else, it has to be this. And so I'm trying to knock those magnets off my collection. So that's like I was just saying a second ago, I like to shoot about 1.5 to 2 years out. That's why I at that point, by the time I got home, I would have most of season 4 finished and most of season 5 done. In fact, I could probably use the excess from the season 5 to go into season 4 and complete them both.
So you said you're going to Southern Assault. How does that play into the factor?
Into the trip or just the show?
Well, are you recording an episode there? Because if you do, by the time it comes out, it'll be way out of date. Or are you just going to drop in?
Southern Assault is going to be a whole separate video by itself that isn't going to be part of the whole season, this or that concept. It's going to be its own thing. So I'm here to cover this tournament. I don't, as I was telling Lee earlier, I don't do rankings or ladders. It's not for me. So I like to go and cover the tournament though, because I know it is for some people, and I would like to present some kind of footage of that. And this is one of the biggest Alpha Strike tournaments that I know of that goes on, at least in that area.
Yeah, I've heard about it, and I'm in a totally different country.
Dash being one of the sponsors of the show, putting it on, I got to go out there. I feel like, it's a match made in heaven. It's just a no-brainer. But it would be its own thing. So I would cover the 2 days and just be like, get interviews with people, that kind of thing. Like a larger, a macro version of what I did at the last Strategicon when I did a little one afternoon Alpha Strike tournament. Something on a larger level than that. Because they come home with like a trophy or something. Something cool. I have to ask Carrie Jo Patton what she got, because she's the winner from the last time. And then all the other stuff that I filmed around it will just come out. I can't ever put a date. I tell people, this might not be out for like a year, so be patient. Nobody cares. Got away with it. I got away with it so far. But stuff like convention reports and things like that, I tend to put out. That way I get something in there, because I can't just do the one thing every month. I have to have other things, or else, you start to have your numbers go down. So you got to keep putting something there.
Yeah, and that's why we've been trying to mix it up through last year with Killbox and this season with like the Battle Babes and all that. Trying to expand it just to keep things fresh and keep people viewing.
Sure. Like, there's no such thing as a bad idea. If you try it and it doesn't work, then okay, cool. Just try something else.
Tuck, thanks so much for coming on tonight. We're probably going to run her a little bit shorter than we have been recently, just because trying to get back into the swing of things and save everybody's time a little bit. Keep it under an hour.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it. It's a blast as always.
Yeah, it's great.
Thanks again. Always nice to have an extra guest come in and pop in and, show a different face.
Once again, we have a wonderfully painted lance to give away to one of our lucky subscribers.
Painted in the Draconis Combine Ryokan Roku scheme.
It includes a Battlemaster, a Catapult, a Dragon, and a Shadowhawk. We want to give a very special thanks to Army Painter Studios, who painted this amazing lance for us to give away as a random prize to our subscribers.
It's going to go to any new or current subscriber to the channel that likes and comments to any current video or upcoming video that has this promo in it. And when we hit 250 subscribers, we will do the draw.
Make sure you like and comment, because one or the other won't get you in for an entry. You have to like and comment on a video and you'll get entered.
Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your family. We need to hit 250 subscribers.
Thank you again for being such an amazing audience, and we look forward to reaching our next major milestone.